and I switched from acoustic guitar to electric violin, and I'm singing and playing. People sort of their attention snaps to the stage, and you see a lot more interest when it's like, oh, I've never seen that before. That's interesting. So
Yeah, I was going to bring that up too. I remember being at a metal show at like a hard rock club, the kind where they purposely have these speakers calibrated to every kick drum is like through your chest, and this band was rocking out, and then this guy had a flying V guitar, and then swings around his back and pulls a flying V violin and plays, and suddenly you're just like, what am I seeing?
whoa.
This is literally Welcome to Room 6, the channel dedicated to local music, wherever it may be, and the people that make it, including my guest. And my guest today is a multi-instrumentalist, singer, songwriter, and producer who was brought to my attention by the algorithm daddy on TikTok. His latest single, Always on the Outside, is out now, although I think we may have another single by the time this post. Please welcome to the channel, Mary Andrew. Hey, Andrew.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Welcome to the party, pal. So right off the bat, thank you very much for your time. And if you don't know who Mary Andrew is, thank you for watching. If you want to be like Mary Andrew and be featured on the channel, whether reviewed, interviewed, or both, hit me up using my email address down below or by clicking the Room 6 social media link. You'll find out what else I'm up to online, ways you can support the channel, like buying merch at room6.shop, and more. And what the heck, go ahead and click the like, the share, and the subscribe buttons. It really all does help. I just hit 750 at time of recording as of today, which is not where I wanted to be 6 years into this, but at least you're all staying, and I appreciate you. So yeah, subscribe. What the heck? All right, back to you. That's enough of my YouTube spiel. Um, so right off the bat, I got to ask, why the name? Are you a fan of Robin Hood or something?
Um, no, that's a good question. I studied for undergrad. I did classical music, and in one of my music history textbooks, um, there was a reference to sort of a section about medieval music, talking about like the troubadours, and this term Merry Andrew came up that just kind of piqued my interest. It's just like another term for a sort of a court entertainer, like a jester or a clown. And with my name being Andrew, and I was sort of looking for um, something to call myself that wasn't my name, even though I was starting to think about this idea of doing a solo project as opposed to a band. So it just something that piqued my interest that I uh, thought would be a good fit. So
That's interesting. I didn't realize that Mary Andrew was actually like a term or something in history as opposed to you just said I'm Andrew and I'm Mary. So
yeah,
thanks for that lesson. Today I learned. And
there's
I
actually an interesting movie too. There's an old Danny Kaye movie that's actually
yes,
pretty good.
I
So
do remember seeing that come across when I was doing my research for you for this interview. That it popped up, and I was like, "Oh, I didn't know Danny Kaye had a movie called Mary Andrew," because I'm old enough to remember Danny Kaye movies. But I also actually studied voice for a year or two, and I did madrigals, 4 and 5 part harmonies, and so I'm really surprised I didn't come across that term then either. But there you go.
yeah.
So, can we talk about like the Reader's Digest version? You see, kids, there used to be these things called Reader's Digest. Can we talk about the truncated version of your journey from part-time at T-Mobile to Tarkin Studios?
Oh man. So um, basically, I'm trying to figure out where to start with that question. So T-Mobile was a job that I took on after I graduated with my degree in music from the University of Utah. And um, the truth of it was, my wife and I were wanting to have a kid, and T-Mobile had some great fertility benefits, and so I got a job there part time so that we could have our son. And as soon as we were done with that, I sort of moved up to a job in tech sales. Um, and sales is something that I did basically from the time I was 18 um, all the way through my early 30s to support myself and my wife. And so I took a job in tech sales to fund my debut EP, The Fool. And I just really wanted to work with Peter because um, he had such an impact on me musically. I grew up playing in sort of like pop punk bands, and I think it was sometime around like 2010 where I saw the movie once for the first time. Um, and Peter actually produced the Swell Season's first um, full-length album. So that was like one of my first sort of exposures to music that was sort of more on the indie folk side. And then I got into bands like The National, Frightened Rabbit, and his name just kept coming up over and over. And so when I went to do my first record, I just had to work with him. And we did that. And I used those demos to apply for a master's program at Berkeley NYC, which is Berkeley's program here in New York City. They bought one of the most famous studios in the city called Power Station, used to be called Avatar, and they turned it into a campus for a few of their master's programs. So I got to study songwriting and production there for a year. And then as part of that program, I got to do an internship. And so naturally, Peter was the person that I reached out um, to see if I could come learn directly from him. And I got to go spend a few weeks just recently helping assist and engineer a record with him, and also helping him uh, with a bunch of his backups. So he had just hard drives full of all of the work that he's done. So early Interpol records and all of the Nationals discography, basically, that was just on single backup drives that I had to go and duplicate and give him some redundancy. So if any of those drives fail, all of his work is saved. So that was a pretty cool experience. I got to learn a lot from it.
Very cool. And yeah, kids, organization and redundancy will set you free. You will realize, even if it's just something as simple as some online backup service that backs up your computer, every so often, you're going to realize, oh crap, I didn't mean to delete that. Where is it? Where is it? So yeah, I for doing. Let me tell you, when you make a YouTube video, there's all these other assets that are part of it, and sometimes you don't remember where you put that. So that's fun. But that's very cool. I noticed in your history you were like part time at T-Mobile to account executive kind of to internship at Target Studios, which you just left. We talked about off camera. What are you up to now?
So yeah, I was planning on doing this internship for a longer period of time, and it turns out like it was only a few weeks, but it was a very focused few weeks. So I got to actually stay in his studio, which is a old Victorian mansion that he converted into the top floor into a studio.
Snazzy.
And then he has 5 bedrooms where the band lives and big commercial kitchen. Um, and so I stayed there for a few weeks, and basically got all my hours in at once. And then um, now we're looking at moving actually back to my hometown, Salt Lake City. That's where I started this project, and my best friend has played drums with me for probably about 20 years. So I'm excited to sort of rejoin forces with him and continue to work on new music together and take on more of the recording, mixing, mastering myself, um, and just kind of do the DIY thing um, with Ben, my drummer. So
Very nice. I mean, you're doing DIY, but with that education you just received for your internship.
totally.
Yeah, so very cool. Um, by the way, stick around. We're going to be seeing a music video for "Always on the Outside." which is how I actually found Mary Andrew. A good old TikTok clip of those things. They work. You bands out there and you acts out there. But stick around. We're going to be seeing the full video for that. And if you are interested at all in checking out Mary Andrew, maybe seeing him live, go check out the links down in the description. You play with a full band sometimes, is that right?
Yeah, so before I moved to New York, I had a full band with me and Ben, my drummer, and then I had a couple multi-instrumentalists, Rachel, who played violin and keyboard, and Lissa, who played bass uh, and cello. So we would do some sort of string arrangements and play some musical chairs and swap instruments. It was a really fun thing. So I know that Ben and I are definitely gonna get back together, and then I don't know where about the other two, but we'll kind of figure it out as we go and start to add pieces as we need them. But Ben and I can do uh, shows just the two of us. We've done that before, and we'll probably do it again. So
Awesome. I loved I performed too, and I loved having the modularity being there. Like we can do anything from just me to the whole band, depending on the situation, but also and availability. But also, I love the musical chairs idea because that always shows like, okay, you guys put extra effort in to learn parts on a whole other instrument, and I just kudos on that. I appreciate that.
thanks. Yeah, it's super fun, and I feel like um, you know it's always there's when you go to a local show, it's nice to see something that you're like, oh, I haven't seen that before. And so I can tell when we're playing a song like my song Latter Days, and I switch from acoustic guitar to electric violin, and I'm singing and playing. People sort of their attention snaps to the stage, and you see a lot more interest when it's like, oh, I've never seen that before. That's interesting. So.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up too. I remember being at a metal show at a hard rock club, the kind where they purposely have these speakers calibrated to every kick drum is like through your chest, and this band was rocking out, and then this guy had a flying V guitar, and then swings around his back and pulls a flying V violin and plays, and suddenly you're just like, what am I seeing?
Whoa.
This is amazing. Yeah, it was really cool. I wish I could remember the name of the band off the top of my head. I did a review of that show years ago, so it's in there somewhere. But
I've got to see that. That sounds awesome.
yeah, right. Um, and talking about shows, I want to see. Can you go ahead and let's say you're at a party, you're pulling out this the story of oh yeah, this one time things went really crazy, or I marked off a bunch of my rockstar wish list things. What is your most memorable show memory performing as Mary Andrew?
So, before I left Salt Lake, we wanted to do sort of like a big send off, a big sort of going away party slash show. And um, we wanted to make it a big event. So we actually rented this old building that used to be um, the Women's Literary Club in Salt Lake City, and they have this amazing stage. It's built building that was built in like the 1920s, and it's just beautiful. Big stage and sort of wood floor ballroom with a balcony, and we got some food trucks. So we had
Nice,
tacos and wood fired pizza, and we had an open bar and a merch booth. Um, and so everybody that I know, all my family and friends came out, and then just a bunch of people from the local music scene came out, and we played a show, and it was a blast.
that sounds like a blast. Anytime there's food trucks involved, you're like, yes, just don't throw the food. Yeah, this is great. All right. So stick around. Like I said, we're going to be seeing that music video for Always on the Outside. We got a couple more questions here. Just because it's just one person, not quite so many rabbit holes to run down like with a band. Um, I want to talk about the scene in Salt Lake City versus the scene in New York City and then Connecticut. Did you play in all those scenes, and did you notice a huge difference between one and the other?
You know, I have not been as involved in New York as I would like to be, or would have liked to been when I set out for New York. Um, and part of that's just because the master's program is 2 years worth of material condensed into 1 year. So like I had a lot of sleepless nights, just trying to figure out how to be a master's student and a dad and like get all my shit done in time. And I tend to be somewhat of a perfectionist. And when I'm the only one working on these songs, I just spend a lot of time focusing on um, these new songs that you guys will be hearing me trickle out over the next 6 months or so. Um, I did get to go see some friends from my program perform at shows here in New York. Honestly, was a bit disappointed with um, the scene here, and I didn't put very much effort in. So, like, take what I say with a grain of salt. But some of these like more famous venues that you've heard of, like the Better End and rooms like that, what they're doing, and it's probably because the cost of real estate is insane here in New York. Um, but instead of having a ticket where there's three bands that you go and you pay one ticket price to go see, they're splitting the bill. So if they have three or four bands playing, you have to buy a ticket for each band. Um,
What?
yeah. So it basically crushes any ability to have
That
a scene here in Manhattan, at least. I know
oh
there's
my
some venues
god.
in Brooklyn that are different, but you go to see someone you know, and there's no opportunity to be exposed to a different band that you might like, unless you're in the band, because then you get to stay and hang out and meet everybody. But if you're just a casual, like local music fan, and you go out to a show in Manhattan, unless you want to pay for four tickets, you're going to go see the band you wanted to see, and then maybe go grab a drink somewhere else and call it a night. So it was kind of a shame to see that that's how things have gotten here.
That hurts my
Um,
soul.
yeah, and
Like
it really kind of discouraged me from pursuing that because it's like I don't have family here, I don't have friends here. I There's no draw. I don't have a lot of money to put into marketing, and so I know I would be bringing just some folks from my program at first, and there's the likelihood of just casual music fans like stumbling upon my show and becoming fans seems almost like it's just not a possibility at all. So
yeah, no, that totally it makes sense why you would be disheartened by that. That angers me because one of my pet peeves is has been being at a show and like this one band somewhere in the middle of the lineup has all these fans that show up, pay for a full ticket, show up just for that set and then leave so that anybody else who's playing after suddenly is like half the crowd. And I'm like, you paid for the whole show. But now it's the other side of the coin where you're like, what if I want to stick around? Do I have to? Are they checking tickets after every set?
they clear the whole room.
Oh man, that anger. That New York, what the hell, man? That's
Yeah,
I would expect something like that from Las Vegas. That's
yep,
crazy. Oh well.
yeah,
I guess. Yeah. Don't do live shows in Manhattan if you want
yeah.
to grow your brand. I guess. Wow.
Now, there are a lot. The cool thing about Manhattan and just New York in general is like if you want to play, there are open mics like every night of the week. You can find a place to play, and I've had some good experiences with those. And I'm sure that there are venues in other parts of New York um, that don't do it that way. So um, just take that with a grain of salt. But that was sort of one of the reasons that plus just the expense of being here is astronomical. Those are a couple of the reasons that I'm leaving. So
Yeah, I can't blame you. I do know that New York City anyway, is one of the like top three or top five most expensive places to live. And I just I'm still shook by that. Thanks for that heads up. Wow.
yeah,
Any plans to come up to the Pacific Northwest where I am, Portland or what Vancouver?
you know, The plan for right now is to uh, get my feet under me in Salt Lake again, to get a space where I can rehearse and record, and then um, you know start playing shows in Utah, and then sort of branch out um, into neighboring states, so like Idaho, Colorado, Nevada, Arizona, and just sort of work my way out, small weekend type tours, maybe like a couple shows on the weekend. And so yeah, I would imagine um, once I get to that point, I could go spend a week in the Pacific Northwest and play some shows in Washington and Oregon and maybe Northern California or something. So definitely.
You know what? If you're in Portland or Vancouver, hit me up because I would love to come meet you in person, and I'll do a review of the show and take pictures and video clips and do a proper thing, and also it would just be great to meet you in person and see you live.
Absolutely. That sounds fun.
Awesome. So stick around. Gonna see that music video for Always on the Outside. We have like two more questions, and then we'll get to that. So, is that teenage pop punk band you started in your garage? Does that have any tunes on your "Songs I'm Not Sick of Yet" playlist?
I just sort of went through and restructured that whole playlist. So I'm trying to think of I might have put one of the new Motion City soundtrack songs on it. I try and keep that one um, pretty current, like because my tendency is to um, just like if I want pop punk to just like re-listen to the same record over and over. I'm a record guy, so um, and so really one of the only reasons that I use playlists is to expose myself to new music and to like force myself to keep finding new stuff rather than just like rehashing the same stuff over and over, which is my tendency. So um, I would say the new Motion City soundtrack songs that I've heard are pretty cool. Um, I also I mean, like Blink is such like a foundational band for me. So the record that they released, what was it, last year? I've listened to that a ton. So
All right. Last question. You made it. Yay. We're gonna hop in our time machine and go back into that. We're gonna circle back to that earliest musical influence question, and want to basically say, actually, oh my God, I got so distracted. I sidetracked. I didn't ask the initial question. I'm sorry. Bad, Josh. Wow. I hardly ever do that. Wow. Okay. Do you remember a time where you said, "I want to do that"?
yes, definitely. There have been a few of those times because my musical journey has been there's been a lot of like branches on that tree, I guess. But um, going back as like far as I can remember, like some of my very earliest memories, I lived with my grandma for the first 3 years of my life, and she was a professional musician. He lived in Northern California. She's actually from Oregon, and she had some singles that were in the Billboard charts and um, had
Wow.
a pretty successful career in the 70s. And so she had this old um, record player that I would sit in front of, and some of my earliest memories are like she had these big headphones that I would like have to hold the cans over my ears because my head was too small for them. And I would just listen to her music like on repeat, just over and over. And it was actually most of her music was on tapes, and so I'd like play it and then rewind the whole thing and wait for it to rewind and then play it again. Um, so I think I kind of grew up with just like taking it for granted that that's something you could do and that's something you could be would be a songwriter, um, and sort of always just had this like idea in my head that I would do that one day. Then when I got a little bit older, um, a guy came to my third grade classroom and played some Vivaldi on the violin, and it was just like, oh, I want to do that. So kind of begged my parents until they bought me a violin, and we went and um, found a teacher who was just like a block down the road. So I'd walk down to her house every week and until I sort of passed her level, and then I moved on to a better teacher. Um, and when I was in high school, um, I I went to well, actually, sort of at the same time I started playing violin. I found a Blink 182 record on the school bus, and so it was like sort of this juxtaposition of
Hmm.
like classical music and then like um, alternative rock that's like pop leaning,
Right.
and so I just kind of always had those two sides. Um, and when I was a little bit older, and I had just started, I think I was 15 when I decided to pick up a guitar and just start writing songs and just taught myself. Um, I went to one of my first concerts on my 16th birthday was Plus 44, which is like a Blink 182 side project. And I went with my guitarist friend who we had been writing songs together for a couple months. Um, and he knew these two guys who we ran into there. Didn't think of it much, but then the next day I ran into them again with my friend when we went to Guitar Center. And it was like, oh, I just met you guys. Like, what do you guys play? And they were like, oh, bass and drums. And we're like, oh, we're two guitarists. I sing. We're writing songs. We're a band now. So
Yep.
that's how I met my drummer Ben. He's been my best friend ever since, and it's just sort of been like a series of synchronicities um, like that. So
Awesome. All right. Now, last question. Hey, we're usually I do that like the first question. I don't know what happened, but thanks for hanging in there, guys. Um, so we're going to circle back to that earliest musical influence question and say, what is one thing you wish that you could have told yourself? Hey, you're going to need to know this, and it could be a warning. It could be like keep stay the course or whatever. But what is your piece of advice to the new young musician who's all excited about this twisted road called music?
that's a good question.
And don't say change your strings.
Do change your strings, but um, not the day of a show though. Don't do that.
Old strings are the vinyl of of an instrument. So the warm tones, man.
Yeah, don't like give yourself at least a few days before the show. But no, I think the first thing that came to my mind when you asked that question is there's a quote by Charles Bukowski, and he said, "I was waiting for something extraordinary to happen, but as the years wasted on, nothing ever did unless I caused it." Um, and so that's it. Just like don't wait for someone else. Just be the catalyst in your own life. Do what you want. Make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, when you start out, you're gonna suck. That's just the way it is. You can't get better without sucking first. That's just the way it
Totally.
is. But you got to do it.
That's
You know, it's the old 10,000 hours mastery thing. You don't worry about mastering music and performing or recording or whatever it is that you're drawn towards. Just do it and keep doing it. You know, it's an organic process. All creative stuff is. Even making YouTube videos, I definitely cringe when I look at my first season. Uh, and
yeah.
it's like keep doing it. And
Yep.
and by the way, no matter how little you think you're doing, if you're doing something, you're a musician. You're doing it.
100%.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't say it any better than that. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for being on the channel. And stick around. We're going to see that music video for Always on the Outside, and then we'll catch you in the outro. In the meantime, we'll temporarily say goodbye, and we'll see you in a minute.
I can't shake this cartoon rain cloud. It's been following me around. No one speaks the language I created to confound. I'm praying for the answer to a question I can't form. I can't seem to relate to anyone else anymore. Always Always on the outside, always on the outside looking in. Always on the outside, always on the outside looking in. Sticking to the shadows, studying a game I'll never win. Always on the outside, always on the outside looking in. There's a shadow on the sidewalk, swirling like a storm. He's been keeping secrets since the day that I was born. A mask that takes me over, wears an all-black uniform. He closes both my eyelids while I wear this crown of thorns. Always on the outside, always on the outside looking in. Always on the outside, always on the outside looking in. Sticking to the shadows, studying a game I'll never win. Always on the outside, always on the outside looking in. Ask it shall be given, seeking ye shall find. Knock it shall be open unto you, so tell me why. I've been pounding on the door and they say I need a key. They don't really give them out to somebody like me, yeah. You see, no more looking to the outside to find who I should be. Gotta look inside, find the master key. Always on the outside, always on the outside looking in. Always on the outside, always on the outside looking in. Sticking to the shadows, studying a game I'll never win. Always on the outside, always on the outside looking in.
I want to thank Mary Andrew for coming on the channel. It was a great interview and an awesome music video. If you want to know more about him, check out the links down below. Tell him Room 6 sent you if you swing by a show. In the meantime, if you want to see more videos like this, click up here. If you want to subscribe, click over there. Don't forget to ring the bell. And if you want to hear my own music, click over there. Remember to be amazing, and we'll see you next time on Room 6. Say goodbye, Andrew.
See ya.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-bum.